Yes.
Have you started the recording?
Yes, I already started.
Okay.
Okay, and after that we have seen the difference between the delete command and truncate command. Okay, we have seen something like 4 or 5 differences. Okay, and I have sent you the recording also. So just please cross check. Now, so let me open our class files. So in today's class, let us see about the difference between the drop command and the delete command. Okay, and then we can go for the SQL constraints. Okay, now let us go for okay. So we have seen the differences between the delete command and the truncate command. No, now let us go for. So sometimes instead of asking the difference between delete command and truncate command, so in order to twist us or in order to confuse us, okay, what they will do is they will ask you the difference between, okay, drop and delete and drop command. Okay. So what is the difference between the delete and drop command? First of all, what is a drop command? Okay. So now, first of all, let us connect to our database db underscore visi. Okay. Now let us go to this. Now let us say I want to drop this table. Right now, do we have any records present in this table? So now you can say I have some records present in this table. Okay. Now when we delete the records from this table, what will happen? So delete from table underscore employees ident. Okay. Now you can see when we delete the records from this table, when we apply delete command, only the records will get removed, but table structure will remain. Yes, now you can see after deleting, if I go and see this, if I go and write the select query, now you can see only the records are removed, but the table is still exist. EMPID, name, salary, the table is still exist. But now if you let us see, let me insert some more records. Now you can see, let me insert some more records into this table. Now you can go and see we have some data. Now if I apply the drop command, drop table name. Okay, this is how we can apply the drop command, drop table name. Now if you go and drop this table, what will happen? So now if you go and see this after dropping the table, okay, we are not only you lose the data, okay, the table itself is killed off. The table is not existed now. So when you apply drop, not only the data, we will lose the table structure also. But when you apply delete, only the records we lose, but the table will still present. So that is the difference between the delete command and the drop command. Okay? So like that we have. So when we apply delete command, we lose only the data, we lose only the records, only the table records. Okay, but table still present. Still exists or is still present. But when we apply drop command, okay, we lose both the data as well as the table also, as well as the table structure also. Okay, the table will get killed off, will get killed. Okay. So that is the difference between the drop command and delete command. Okay, so these are all some basic statements. Okay, basic commands we need to know. Now let us go for next topic, that is SQL constraints. Let us go for next topic, that is SQL constraints. So constraints means some rules. Okay. So when you are designing the tables, we should follow some rules. Okay. When you are inserting the data or when we are designing the table, we should follow some rules. What is that rules is, let us say, why we need to follow rules is in order to avoid the duplication of data. Okay. So let me go show you some example. So let me create one table. Let us say create table. So let us say about I want to maintain some employees information. So let us say some employees master table I want to create. Okay. And let us say I have some columns like employee ID, some sample table, employee name, okay, and some salary, some simple table I want to create like this. Now let us say after creating the table, I want to insert the data like this, employees master, values. Now let us say employee ID, some name, okay, some salary, okay, like this. Now let us say I have some multiple employees are joining in my company. So let us say some 5 employees. Okay. Now let us say employee 2. Okay. Employee 2, some name, some Mohan. Okay. So some salary like this. And employee 3. Now let us say employee 3. Okay. Some name. Okay. Some name. Okay. Some salary like this. Now instead of giving the employee 4 by mistake, I have given it as employee 1 only. Okay. So now let us say some Ramesh, okay, and some salary. Now is this valid record? So is this valid record? Because employee 1 I have already given to one employee Krishna. Can I give the same employee ID 1 to another employee? No, no. So I should avoid this record, no? So I should not insert duplicate values in this column. I should not allow duplicate columns, duplicate values in this column. But when there is no restriction, now let us see whether that is allowed or not. Now you can say I'm creating some table, okay, and I'm inserting the, let us see, I try to insert first 3. So these are valid entries. 1, 2, 3 is there. These are valid entries that should allow. But when I try to insert a duplicate value on this employee column, this is not correct. No, this is not the, this is some invalid data. No, but when there is no restriction, now you can see when I execute, it is allowing. Okay, so we are able to insert duplicate values in this column, but that is not correct. That is not the valid data. We should avoid those records. Okay. Now you can see duplicate value is allowing. Now, one more thing is, now let us say something like Varun, like this. Now let us say some value like null. Now, is this record is valid record? Can any employee present in a company without ID value? No, no. So this is also invalid record, no? But when I insert, is this allowed? Yes, that is also allowed. So I should restrict this type of records also, no? So now you can see null value is allowed, yes. So how to avoid these invalid records? To avoid these invalid records, we have to use some SQL constraints. Okay. Now on this column, I don't want to allow duplicates and I don't want to allow null values. No. Now on this column, I can assign the primary key constraint. Okay, I can assign the primary key constraint. Okay. Now let us see like this. See, if I assign a primary key constraint on this column, then this constraint will make sure that there are no duplicates and no null values around. Okay. Now let me drop this table and recreate it one more time. So let me drop this table. So now you can say I'm dropping the table. Now let me recreate it one more time with primary key constraint on employee column. So now you can see I was able to create table. Okay. And first 3 records are valid records. These should be allowed. Yes, these are allowed. And now you can see the fourth record. This is a duplicate value. Now it should not allow. It is not allowed. It should not allow. No. Now let us go and see. Now you can see this is not allowed. Saying that violation of primary key constraint. Cannot insert duplicate key in this table. And what is the duplicate key? That is 1. Okay. So no duplicates. Now when I try to insert null values, let us see, is this allowed? No, that is also not allowed. No null values. Okay. So that is the use of primary key constraint. Is the main usage of primary key constraint. Okay. So we have some constraints like primary key constraint, unique key constraint, okay, foreign key constraint, okay, and check constraint. Okay. So default value and null, not null constraint, not null constraint, okay, and composite primary key constraint. Right. So these are all the different types of constraints we have. Now let us start with the primary key constraint. Let us start with the primary key constraint. Now you can see this is the primary key constraint. What is the main usage of primary key constraint is it won't allow duplicates or null values to be inserted on the primary key column. Okay, so it won't allow duplicates. Okay, duplicates to be inserted on the primary key column. Okay, like this, it won't allow null values. Okay, means since it is not inserting, it is not allowing the duplicate records, duplicate values. So then it will provide, okay, uniqueness to the table data. Okay, it will provide uniqueness the table data. Okay, also we can say that we can uniquely identify a table record. Also we can say that we can uniquely identify a table record, okay, using this a table record using the primary key column. Okay, so it will provide uniqueness to the table data. That is the main usage of primary key constraint. Okay, now what else it can do is, now let me see the table data. Now let us see whether any duplicates or nulls. No, there are no duplicates and no null values are allowed. Now let me insert some multiple values. So let me insert some more records. Now let us say I want to insert something like employee 9, okay, employee 5, employee 12, okay, employee 12, employee 10, okay, employee 6, okay, employee 4, okay, employee 7, okay, employee 11, okay, employee 8. Now let us say employee 14, like this. Okay, now I am inserting multiple records, but is I am inserting them in a particular order? Is I am inserting them in a particular order of employee? No, I can see 9, 5, 12, 10 like this. Okay, but even though when I insert the data in a random order, now you can see even though I insert the data in a random order, but how the data will be arranged inside this table, how the data will get arranged or how the data will get inserted inside this table is, now you can see the data will be arranged in the order of employee. So now you can see even though I have not inserted in a particular order, but how the data is arranged? The data is arranged in the ascending order of primary key column. Okay, now in the ascending order of primary key column. Now you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 14 like this. Now if I insert 13, will it get inserted between the 12 and 14 or it will get inserted in the last? Now let us see. If I insert employee 13 data, if I insert employee 13 data, where it will get inserted? Will it get inserted in the last or before the 13? Now let us go and see. Even now we can go and see this. It will get inserted before the 13, before the 14. Okay, so how it is doing when you create a primary key constraint, what else it is doing is it is arranging the table data in a particular order. How it is doing is when you create a primary key constraint, no, so when you create a primary key constraint, primary key on a table, then by default okay, clustered index will be created on the table. And by default clustered index will be created on the table. Okay, so it's a duty. Okay, so because of clustered index, okay, because of clustered index, the data, the table data is arranged in a particular order. Okay, because of clustered index, the table data is arranged on the ascending order of primary key column. Okay, so once you create primary key, by default clustered index will be created on the table, because of which the data is arranged in a particular order. Now let me show you that. Now let us go to this. This is our table name, no, which is present under the DBVJ database, no. So now let us go to this. Okay, let's go to the databases folder. Now let us go to the DBVJ. Let me refresh and let us go to this DBVJ tables. Now here you can go and see this. We have the table underscore employees master. You can see we have the table underscore employees master. So now here you can go and see this is the list of columns, and on the employee ID we have a primary key, and the employee ID column we have a primary key, and under this key section now you can see what is the key ID. Now you can see this is the key ID. Okay, A4CE8 like this. And in the same table we can see we have one more folder called indexes folder is there. Under the same table we have one more folder called indexes folder. Now let us go to this indexes folder, and now here you can see this with the same key ID. Here it is A4CE8. Okay, so now you can see with the same key ID A4CE8, A4CE8, 0DD0, 0DD0, with the same key ID, a clustered index is also created on the table. Okay, so when you create a primary key, by default clustered index will be created on this table. Okay, because of clustered index, the data is arranging in a particular order. Okay, so that is about the clustered index. Okay, now what I will get, what is the advantage if I, so clustered index, I'm telling that okay, it will arrange the data in the ascending order of employee, that's fine, but what is the usage, what advantage I will get if it arranges the data in a particular order? Means any indexes, okay, is used to improve the performance. So by arranging the data in a particular order, it will improve the performance of your queries. How the clustered index will improve the performance of your queries is, let me show you with some diagram. Okay, so now where this data, we are inserting some data into the tables, no, where this data will be stored is, our table data will be stored in the form of inside the SQL memory. Okay, inside the SQL memory there will be pages, some memory pages are present. Inside the SQL memory pages, the table data will get stored. The table data will get stored. Okay. Now, for showing that, let us say, let me prove that whether the data will be stored, okay, in the form of pages or not. Let us say I want to take a backup of our DBVJ database to particular physical location. Now, let me show you that. So now let me see, I want to take this my DBVJ database backup on this location. So now I can go and specify the path where I want to store the backup of this database. Now what is the name of the file? Let us say dbvj, okay, .pkb. Okay, don't worry, we'll have a separate session on this. Okay, I'm just showing that whether our table data will be stored in the form of pages or not. Now you can see when I try to take a backup of this database, now you can see it is saying that, hey, up to now your table, your DBVJ tables data is stored in 6864 pages. Okay, and 7 pages are used to store the log file. Okay, whatever the queries we are writing, no, those queries also will be stored in the log file, and actual data will be stored in the master database file, and in that master database file the data is stored in 6864 pages up to now. Okay, so where your table data will be stored is inside the SQL memory pages. Okay, now let us say for example, so let us assume that I have an employee table. So let us say in the table we have some 1000 records. So let us say in the table we have some 1000 records. Now let us assume that this table employee data is stored in 10 memory pages. Okay, let us say this table data is stored in 10 memory pages like this. Okay, now let us say up to 10 pages, and let us say some page 1 to page 10 like this, page 1, page 2, okay, page 3 like this. The data will be stored in, let us assume that this data is stored in 10 pages. Okay, now 1000 records, no, let us assume that each page contains 100 records. Okay, now let us say the data is stored in a random order. Now let us say there is no index or there is no primary key. Now the data will be stored in a random order. Now let us say employee 1, and let us say employee 7, and let us say employee 20. Like that the data is stored in a random order, and let us say employee page 1 contains 100 records like this. Okay, now let us say my employee 3 data is present in the page 2. Let us say in the page 2 also we have 100 records. Okay, but the data is stored in the random order. So the employee 3 data is present in the page 3, employee 2 data is present in the page 3, and employee 5 data is present in the page 4. Like this, let us assume that employee 9 data is present in the page 10. So since the data is not stored in a particular order, it's not stored in a particular order. Okay, so the data is stored in a random order like this. Okay, and each page contains 100 records. Now if the data is stored like this, now let us say if I write a query like select star from table, if I write a query like select star from this table underscore employees master, where empid is equal to 9, if I write a query like this, so for getting me the employee 9 data, okay, so how many pages it has to scan? Now you can see since this table data is stored in 10 pages, how the SQL server will search for this employee 9 record is. So it will start the search from the first page. It doesn't know where employee 9 is present in which page. No, it will start the search from the first page. Now it will scan the entire 100 records. Employee 9 is not there. It will go to the second page, and again it will scan entire 100 records. Employee 9 is not there. It will go and scan third page. Like that, it has to scan total 10 pages in order to get the employee 9 data. Okay, when the data is not stored in a particular random order, it is not stored in a particular order. Okay, then if your employee 9 is present in the 10th page, then it has to scan, the SQL server has to scan 10 pages in order to give you this output of this employee 9. Now let us say on this table, if I create a primary key, so that primary key is by default creating the clustered index. No, Now what the clustered index is doing, it will arrange the data in the order of employed, Then once you create a clustered index, the first page will contain 1 to 100 in a random order. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Like that, I can find the employee 9 in the first page, and second page will have from 101 to 200, 101 to 200 like this. And the third page will have 201 to 300. Okay, 201 to 300 like this. And the ninth page will have some, 10th page will have some 901 to 1000. If you create a clustered index, we'll arrange the data in a particular order. No? Now, after creating a clustered index, if you write this query, select star from table where employed is equal to 9, then how many pages it has to scan now? Not even a single page, it has to scan, okay, only to first 9 rows. It has to scan in order to find the employee 9 data, it has to scan only first 9 records. So there is a lots of difference scanning entire pages, scanning 110 pages when compared with scanning 9 records. No? Okay, so it will, that's how the clustered index will improve the performance by arranging the data in a particular order. That's how the clustered index will improve the query performance. Earlier we have to scan 10 pages, now we have to scan only 9 records. Which will be faster? Definitely scanning 9 records is faster, no? That's how the clustered index will improve the performance by arranging the data in a particular. Okay, so that is the usage of clustered index. Okay, so now once you create a primary key, by default clustered index will be created. And now one of the interview question is, how many primary keys are allowed per table? How many primary keys we can create per table? Any guessing? Any guess, no problem. How many primary keys are allowed per table? So we can have only one primary key is allowed per table, no? So we can have only one primary key, no? So only one primary key is allowed per table.
Yes, Mohan.
Yes, tell me. Hello. Okay, so only one primary key is allowed per table, but why? Is there any reason why only one key is allowed per table, only one primary key is allowed per table? That is also interview question. Okay, why only one primary key is allowed? Why not two? So is there any reason? Yes, let me show you that. So now let us say, let me explain it. So now let us say I have some table. So in the table I have some employee ID. Okay, some employee name, and let us say some salary like this. Okay, some salary like this. Okay, now let us say on this employee ID we have some primary keys already there. Now on this employee ID we have one primary key is already present on this column. Now the data will be arranged in the order of employee ID. No? Now let us say the data will be arranged in the order of employee ID. So now let us say something like Ramesh or Ram. Okay, and let us say something like mm, Charan like this. Okay, Charan like this, and something like Venki like this. Okay, Venki like this, and let us say some Avi like this. Okay, employee names are like this. Now let us say some salary like 4k 4000. Okay, so something like 10k 10,000. Okay, some 3k 3000 like this salaries are there. Now let us say some 5,000 like this, 5k like this. Now right now on this employee ID we have a primary key, so the data is arranged in the order of employee ID. Now let us assume that Now let us assume that there is, if it is allows one more primary key on the employee name, what will happen? If it allows one more primary key on employee name, what will happen? So it will try to arrange the data on the order of employee name. No, it will try to arrange the data on the order of employee. No? Okay, then the Abhi, now you can see if it tries to arrange the data in the order of employee name, then this Abhi will try to come to the first record. So alphabetically A is first, no? So this Abhi will try to come to the first record. Not only Abhi, the entire data, no, the entire row of the fourth and the entire row will try to shift to the first record, no? So now in process of arranging the data on the order of employee name, we are disturbing the order of employee ID, no? We are bringing the employee ID 4 to first record. Okay, so we are trying to bring the employee ID 4 data to the first record. So at any time, we can arrange the table data on the order of only one column. No? I cannot arrange the table data on the order of two columns. No? Okay, so at any time, we can arrange the table data on the order of only one column. I cannot arrange the data on the order of two columns. No? So that's why only one primary key is allowed per table. Okay, so we cannot create multiple primary keys on a table. Understood? Now if you try to create also, now let us say if you try to create also, let me try to create one more table. So now let us try to create one more table like this. Now let us say employee master 2. Now let us say if I have something like PAN number, let us say if I have PAN number, now let us say some varchar. Okay, and if I try to assign primary key on this column also, let us see whether that is allowed. So now you can see it is saying that that is not allowed. You can see it is cannot add multiple primary key constraints. Okay, multiple primary keys are not allowed on a table. It won't allow. Cannot add multiple primary key. Only one primary key is allowed per table. Okay. So these are all the things we should know about a primary key constraint. Okay. So now let us go for something like composite primary key constraint also. Let us go for composite primary. So since we are covered the primary key, let me go for composite primary. Now let us say, so the primary key will provide the uniqueness to the table data. No? Primary key will provide the uniqueness to the table data. No? Now let us say, suppose my table uniqueness is dependent upon two columns. My table uniqueness is dependent upon the combination of two columns. Then what can I do now? Okay. So let us say, let me give some example. So let us say my company told me that, okay, so let us say I want to create some employee address table. So I want to create some employee address table. Okay, employees and their address information. So when I'm creating the employee address table, my company told me that every employee can have only one permanent address, and one temporary address, like this. Okay, so an employee is allowed to have one permanent and one temporary. So more than two permanent or more than more than one permanent or more than one temporary address are not allowed for an employee. So let me create some employee address table. So create, okay, table underscore employees address. Okay, now let us say something like empid, integer, emp name, varchar, or let us say empid. and let us say something like address type. Okay, address type something like varchar. Okay, now let us say address one or street address. Let us say something like street address varchar 30 and emp city varchar 30 and something like emp state employee state varchar 30 like this. So now I want to create a table like this. Okay, now what are the things I need to consider is, so an employee can have one permanent and one temporary. Now let us see. So when I try to insert the data, insert into table underscore employees address values. Now let us say employee one address type as something like permanent. Let us say address type as permanent address. Okay. Now let us say something like street address, something like Ashok Nagar. Okay. So some city, let us say some Tirupati like this, and some say state Andhra. Okay. So Andhra like this. Okay. Now this is the permanent address of employee one. Now let us say some employee one can have one permanent and one temporary. No, so you can have one temporary address also. So more than one permanent, more than one temporary is not allowed. No. So let us say one temporary. Let us say something like Yarpuram. Okay. So something like Bangalore. Okay. Something like Karnataka. Okay. So like this I have. Okay. So employee one is having one permanent and one temporary. So this combination should not repeat again. More than one permanent and more than one temporary should not repeat again. Okay, but employee can employee can have multiple duplicate value? Yes, an employee can have one permanent and one temporary. No, so employee can be duplicated. Okay, and this address type. So address type also employee two can have one permanent and one temporary. No, similarly like employee two also can have. So let us say employee two also can have one temporary and one permanent. Let us say something like Sanatnagar. Okay, so something like Hyderabad. Okay, something like Telangana. Like this. Okay, so employee two permanent address is Hyderabad, and his temporary address is, let us say something like okay, JP Nagar from Bangalore. Yes. So now the permanent address type also can repeat. Okay, but this combination should not repeat. Okay, and this combination should not repeat like this. Okay, now how can I provide the uniqueness for this table data? How can I assign the primary key for this table data? I cannot go and assign only for this column. I cannot assign primary key. Why? Because employee is repeatable. Okay, employee is repeating here. I should allow duplicates, one permanent, one for temporary. So I cannot assign primary key on this column, and I cannot assign primary key for this column also. Because okay, so if I assign primary key, no duplicates. No, so employee one can have permanent and employee two also can have permanent. I should repeat this, then I cannot assign primary key on this column separately also. Okay, but this combination I should not allow. Employee and per address type combination I should not repeat. Okay, so then what I can do is, I cannot I was not allowed to create multiple primary keys, but the key should be one, but that key should be present on the combination of two columns. No, then how we can create the composite primary keys? Go to the last column, put a comma separator, and as per the definition the key should be only one. No, so I'm creating only one primary key, and that key is on the combination of which columns data? Employee ID comma address type. The key should be on the combination of, okay, I'm creating a primary key, and as per the definition, only one primary key is allowed. So I'm creating only one primary key. Okay, and I'm creating only one primary key. Okay, and now here you can see this, that is on the combination of two columns. That is on the combination of two columns. So that's why this is called as composite primary key. Okay, now let me show you this. Let me create a table like this. Now let us go for, now let us see, one permanent is allowed, yes, and this is also allowed. Okay, one is allowed multiple times. Similarly, so employee 2, one permanent and one temporary can have. Now let us go for do this. Now let us try to repeat this. So this combination should not get repeated, no? Now if I try to repeat this, let us say something like Maruti Nagar. Okay, now you can see if I try to repeat this combination 1 comma permanent, then that is not allowed. Violation of primary key constraint. Okay, so then this combination is not allowed. Okay, so we have to create a primary key, but that key is on the combination of two columns, no? Then that is called as composite primary key. This is called as composite primary. So you can allow multiple combinations, not only two columns. We can create, okay, three columns combination, okay, four columns. N number of columns are allowed here. N number of combinations are allowed. Okay, so that is about the primary key constraint. Okay, so now, so that is about primary key and composite primary key constraint. Okay, now let us say, let us go for next thing, that is unique key constraint. So let us go for something like unique key constraint. Now let us say I want to maintain the, let us say some example, create table underscore employees in queue, some name, okay, let us say employee integer, some name varchar. So now let us say some PAN number, okay, some varchar. Now let us say mobile number, some begin, and something Aadhaar number, Aadhaar card number, okay, some varchar 50 like this, okay, some empcd like this. So now in this table, so now you can see this. I want to create a table with these columns. Now let us put them into second line. Okay. So now my company rule is employee. I should not allow duplicate values on this employee column. No. So then I will assign primary key to this column. Okay. So first of all, I will assign primary key on the employee column. And my manager told me that PAN number also should be unique queue. That is definitely no. Okay. Every employee should have different PAN number. No. But is multiple primary keys allowed on this table? No. Then what can I do now? Similarly, you can say that mobile number also should be distinct. Mobile number also should be distinct. And Aadhaar card number also should be also distinct. No duplicates are allowed. But I can allow null value. Okay. So then what can I do in this case is, so since already on the employee ID we have a primary key. So then on this PAN number, since if you don't want to allow duplicates, then we have an alternative called, you can provide the unique key constraint to this column. So you can provide the unique key constraint to this column. Similarly, we have this mobile number. So for this mobile number also, since you don't want to allow duplicates, then we can provide unique key constraint on this column. Means unique key constraint means no duplicates. Unique means it will allow only unique data. And Aadhaar card number also. Do you want to provide the uniqueness for this column? Then use the unique key constraint. And we can have multiple unique keys are allowed on a table. And we can have multiple unique keys are allowed on a table. Okay. Now, what does the unique key will do is, so it won't allow duplicates. It won't allow duplicate values. Okay. And it will allow only one null value. It will allow only one null value. More than one null value is not allowed. Okay, now you can see this. Now I will try to create a table like this. Now let us go and insert the data. So insert into table name, table underscore employees unique queue values. Now let us say employee ID1, some name. Okay, so some PAN number. Okay, so let us say AL. Okay, 344. Okay, so DYU. Okay, DYU04 like this, some PAN number and some mobile number. So some mobile number like this, some Aadhaar card. So something like 321, okay, something like GH4, okay, some Aadhaar number like this, okay, Aadhaar card number like this, and now something like EMP city. So let us say some Bangalore like this. Okay. So this is the first record. Now I have provided some data. Now let us go and insert the record. Now let us see for second employee. Now let us say for employee 2, let us say for employee 2, some name. So now you can see on this PAN number, we have the unique key constraint. No? So then if I try to insert, now let me insert different mobile number and let us say this is some different Aadhaar card. Now you can see I'm trying to insert the same PAN number here, a duplicate PAN number. Now let us see whether that is allowed or not. So this is not allowed. Violation of unique key constraint, cannot insert duplicate key. Okay, and the duplicate key value is, this is the PAN number. Okay, so if you are declaring this column as unique, then only unique data is allowed. But any null value is allowed? Yes. Now you can see, can we insert null values in this column? Can we insert null value? So now you can see, yes, we are able to insert null value on this PAN number. But how many null values? Only one null value. Now let us see. If I try to insert one more null value, if I try to insert one more null value for employee 3, okay, some Suresh. Okay, now let us say something like different mobile number. Okay, and let us say some different other card. Now you can see I'm inserting one more null value on the PAN number. Is this allowed? That is not allowed. So cannot insert duplicate. It means more than one null value is not allowed. Why? Is there any reason why why only one null value is allowed? Yes. Why? Because if it allows one more null, so already we have one null value is there, no? So if it allows one more, it will be the duplicate of existing null value, no? Already one null value is inserted in this table. So now you can see in this employee, in this PAN number column, in this PAN number column, we have already one employee is already present, okay, with null value. Now you can see already one null is there. If it allows one more null, it will be the duplicate of existing null, no? So what is the first rule? No duplicates. So if it allows one more null, it will violate the first rule, no? It will violate the first rule, no? So that's why only one null value is allowed per table. If it allows one more null, that will be the duplicate of existing null value. That's why. Okay. So that is about the unique key constraint. And when you create a primary key constraint, what type of index is created? Clustered index is created on the table, no? Now when you create a unique key constraint, so when we create a unique key constraint, by default non-clustered index will be created on the table. Non-clustered index will be created on the table. Okay, it will allow, by default it will create non-clustered index. Now if you go and see this, so let me refresh the tables of a DBVJ database. Okay, now if you go and see this, we have the table underscore employees unique queue is there. If you go to this and you can go and see this columns, okay, so we have unique queue keys are not showing up here, only the primary key is showing up here. But if you go to the keys folder, we can see we have created 3 unique queue keys, no? So 3 unique queue keys are there, and you can go to this indexes folder, and now here you can see when you create a primary key, by default clustered index is created, and when you create unique queue key, you can see non-clustered indexes are created here. Okay, so that's how when you create a unique key, by default non-clustered index will be created. And what is the usage of non-clustered index and how it will improve the performance? So we will discuss all those things in the tomorrow class. Okay, so it will take some more than 15 minutes. Okay, so we'll discuss about what is the usage of some high level discussion. Okay, some high level discussion about the non-clustered indexes in the tomorrow class. We start with that one. Okay, so these are all the things.
Mohan,
Yes,
Mohan, I have received the videos. This notes probably I'm not sure whether I have received or not.
I have already sent you the notes yesterday itself, but let me resend
Okay.
today also again. So
Sure,
just
sure. Thank you so much.
okay.
I missed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mohan.
Thank you.
Thank you.